Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, an Algerian national with, I'll put it mildly, a troubled past was deported from Canada last week. And that's the hope, by the way, apparently deported on Thursday. But as the Bloc Québécois MP, that was one of the politicians really pushing for this person's expulsion, said last week, she's only going to believe it. Chantal Soucy said she'll only believe it when she sees absolute proof that this man had landed in Algeria. His name is Yahya Meda. He was denied a final appeal last week and hopefully sent back to Algeria. I want to talk to Hank Topas from B'nai Brith about this because his organization had been behind much of the legal battles here to get this man deported. Hank, welcome back to the program.
How are you, Elias?
I'm doing okay. I'm looking at the history here. Now, this person, Yahya Media, apparently entered Canada in 1998 after escaping a psychiatric hospital in Florida. Ended up in the U.S. with a false passport months earlier. The FBI considered him to be an affiliate of an armed Islamic group. Okay, so this is the type of person we're talking about here. And since he's been in Canada, he has made a name for himself, none of it good. Why don't you tell me about how B'nai Brith became aware of this individual and the work that has gone into this man's deportation?
Well, just to clarify, we did not call for or have any involvement in his deportation. That doesn't mean that we're not thrilled that the man is out of Canadian society's hairs where he has just been trouble. What kind of trouble is that he got into, excuse the expression, a pissing match with the fine people of Saint Barnabé Sud, and his reaction to them was to hang and festoon his entire home with pictures of croix gammée, or as we call it, Hakenkreuz, the otherwise known as a swastika, but that is not really a proper term to use. We use the Hakenkreuz expression. And what he had done besides that was to accuse all of the people, especially the city management, of racism against him when he himself failed to observe half of the bylaws that they had asked him to observe. We got news of this, I guess, and got involved this past February. I went out there, met with the city, also approached his home to see if I could discuss this with him. The SQ was on standby and would not allow me to get near his home. What's really interesting is you take a home on the corner of Rue de la Cimetière. You have to remember that area of Quebec has people who served in World War II buried in that cemetery. And he is basically putting the offensive images of that which Canadians fought for freedom on his home with a vengeance. So he was found not guilty of using that symbol because there were no laws and are no laws that cause that to be illegal, and that's where we got involved. B'nai Brith mounted a petition of 37,000 signatures to cause and ask the government to declare such images illegal.
But do you find it, that it even got to that point? Yeah, he was refused asylum in 2007. He was refused permanent residency in 2007. And yet here he was, many years later and still able to do these acts. Do you view that as a failure here of the Canadian immigration system, that it even came to all of this?
Well, I wish that was the only case. I wish that was the only case. There are many cases where people of not good intention have been admitted into this country. And it is sad that the country does not seem to have the gumption to remove them before further ill is caused to Canadian society.
What should our listeners know about this story that we haven't already touched on?
What's very interesting is that he was convicted of contempt of court. I was online in that courtroom. I was there virtually. And when sentencing came up, I actually went out to St. Hyacinthe, sat in the courtroom, and he was pleading all kinds of nonsense. The judge took everything under advisement and later sentenced him to, I believe, a monetary fine. Mm-hmm. Instead of paying the fine, he appealed the entire conviction, and that case is still set to be heard, I think, in January at the Court of Appeals, unless it is now being removed. Who knows? Once he has been proven to be deported, if you don't have a defendant, and I don't know if they'll allow a defendant to appear virtually in a Court of Appeals, but that is the case. So the guy just blocked it at every possible instance. He fought it and he talked about it, and he would say that, first of all, I've taken it down. He didn't take it down. Then he says he didn't put it up. Then he would say that he had a website that had the same nonsense going on, and he wouldn't take that down. Mm-hmm. And then he said it's not under his control. If you read the transcript of the court case, it is just stupefying how this man would weasel all over the place.
I find it interesting that you seem, just like the Bloc Québécois MP that I referenced before, Chantal Soucy, you also don't believe that the deportation has actually happened. Shouldn't we have definitive proof by now if it's gone forward or not?
I have no knowledge that it has gone forward other than what I read in the newspapers. Mm-hmm. We have not been in touch with law enforcement or the immigration office that would have deported him. But we are following this matter. We're following lots of things. In fact, I think one of the top things right now on our plate is what is going on at Royal West Academy.
Which is that the student that was sharing things online on social media?
She wrote F Israel Holy SHIT. Mm-hmm. She was suspended because you have to apply to get into Royal West, which is a top school run by the EMSB, and when you are in that school, you have signed an agreement to abide by the bylaws. No bullying, no hate, no nonsense like this. So she gets suspended, and there is now a mounting campaign by parents of other students that her rights of free speech have been denied. That's nonsense. There is no free speech. If you've signed that and you're a high school student, you respect other students. Mm-hmm. And now Jewish students are in terror walking around the school because they are being bullied, and we are getting calls from parents of Jewish students in Royal West that the atmosphere there has become toxic. So that's very high on our plate right now.
Hank, B'nai Brith is the oldest anti-hate organization in the country. You just passed 150 years.
That is correct.
I guess, headlines like the one we start off with, the headline there out of Royal West, how does all of that make you feel nowadays with everything you're seeing?
It's a sad state of affairs, but we respect the job that EMSB is doing. They have spectacular people there led by Joe Artona, and we hold them in the highest of esteem. We know that they will not let this thing drop.
All right, Hank, listen, I have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for coming on this morning.
You be well. Thank you, Elias.
Take care. Henry Topas is Quebec Regional Director over at B'nai Brith.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.